All right, so we're gonna change the oil in our 2017 Ford Transit van. This is the 3.5 EcoBoost. It's the long, tall, dually. None of that really matters, just so you know it's the 3.5 EcoBoost. It's really simple. We've got the new Napa filter. We got 6 quarts of oil. It's 5W30. And if you look on top of the fill cap, it tells you 5W30, so that's easy. And then this is our dipstick down here, which we'll get to later. And on the bottom, it's pretty simple. We just have one drain bolt on the bottom of the oil pan. It's a 15 mil. I like to use a 6-point socket. I don't like to use a 12-point. I want to grab it fully. We got our drain pan, 1 pair of gloves. Yeah, and then we'll spin the old filter off, put the new filter on. So let's crawl under there and I'll show you where the bolt is. All right guys, let's slide under here and we'll show you where the drain bolt is. So on the right side of the vehicle, as you crawl up under here, you can see that drain bolt right there. It's at 15 millimeter on the bottom of the drain pan. And I've got the GoPro set up, so I'm gonna use that to capture this. But I've got my drain pan there. I've got my 15 mil below it. So we'll get that spun off of there and let the oil drain. So I just pulled the drain bolt and you can see it's got that crush washer on there. We're gonna save that and reuse it. I thought I was missing the drain pan. So yeah, there's our drain bolt. Just pulled it off. That's at 15 mil. It's nice. You see up under there, that's where it's coming out. So we're gonna let the oil drain all the way and then we'll reinstall our drain bolt. One thing I'll do to help the oil drain faster is I'm gonna pop the cap on the top here, let air down in. That way it'll drain a little bit quicker on the bottom. So now that the oil is done draining, I'm just gonna take a rag and clean that up, but it's actually super clean up there. It doesn't really need anything. Then I also cleaned the drain bolt while I was waiting for that to drain. So I'm gonna take a rag now, kind of clean this just a little bit. Like I said, it doesn't need much. And then I'm gonna throw the drain bolt back in. Swap hands so you guys can see it. And then this just gets torqued down. The setting, Ford wants 19 foot-pounds. So we'll torque this down, then we'll get the oil filter off. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna look for is the oil filter itself. So if we come up under here, you can kind of see. I get my camera to focus. Filter's right there in the middle on the air side of this hose. That's right up in there. So I've got to get my hand up in here. Oh, here we go. It's right there. So I got to get that spun off. So I'm going to move the drain pan a little bit first. And I don't know if I can get it at this angle, trying to film it or not. So it's on there pretty good. So I'm going to take a second to try to crack this loose real quick. Okay, so I got that cracked loose. That took a minute. Took both hands. I had to like way up under there. And there's really no easy way to do this. I always make a mess with this. So this oil off the filter is going to run all over these hoses. So I just take some paper towels afterwards and clean them up. So I'm going to try to spin this off. I've never done this trying to film though. You can see that mess. It's going to get all over my arm if I don't spin faster. So there's really no easy way to do that. I just fogged it into the drain pan, which is fine. But okay, I'm going to take a minute, let all this drain. And I'm gonna clean up that oil on the side of there. So I kind of got that cleaned up a little bit. That's why I use cardboard everywhere. And you can look up under here. And that's where the filter came off. Everything looks super clean up in there. And the next thing I have to do is just clean up these tubes. I usually use starting fluid. That way there's no oil residue left on there. I always like change the oil on, make sure there's no leaks anywhere. So if you don't clean those tubes up, you really have no way of knowing if you have a leak or not. So we'll get that all cleaned up and we'll get the new filter spun back on. So we've got our new Napa filter. It's got a little protector on here. And then you always want to put a little bit of oil on the seal so it seals. It's perfectly dry right now. And it won't seat very well. You want to make sure it's got some lube on there so it lets the O-ring spin instead of catching. If it catches, it'll wrinkle the O-ring. We want to let it slide all the way until it's perfectly tight. So a little bit of oil on there is a good thing. So I'm going to lay back down under here and spin this back on. I always screw these on hand tight. So you just get them as tight as you can by hand and then you just kind of let it go. So That's how the last one was, and it took 2 hands to get it back off. So filter's back on. I'm gonna clean this up one last time. That way we're good to go. All right, one last look up here. I used some starting fluid, sprayed it around, got all the residue cleaned up, some paper towels. So tomorrow, obviously, I'll lay under here and check it, make sure there's nothing else dripping, but I think we're looking pretty good. So now we can go up top and start filling the oil. All right, so our drain bolt's tight on the bottom, oil filter's on, so we're good down there. I don't have a funnel here, so I just took a pop bottle, cut it, at least gets it up higher so I have a better angle here. So got some paper towels down below. I always do 5.5 quarts. I've got like I think it's like the crankcase pressure sensor, which I think is part of this hose actually. Sometimes trips, and if you read the forums on these transit vans, if you put too much oil in, it'll make that sensor pop your engine light on. So that's what it does to mine occasionally. I think this is a pretty cheap piece to fix because there's a sensor down below inside of this. I think it's pretty easy to do. Haven't done it yet because the engine light was off until right before it needed an oil change. So I'm hoping it's just tied back to that again. So we're gonna dump 5.5 quarts of this in and we'll go from there. Okay, that went really well. Actually didn't spill anything. My pop bottle trick worked pretty good. And at this point, we would take the van outside, run it for 4 or 5 minutes, shut it off, check the dipstick, and then fill accordingly. It's pretty late tonight, so I'm not gonna do it. But I will hop inside the van here in a second, and we'll show you how to reset the dash on it so your low oil light goes out. So let's hop in there and go from there. All right, we're inside the van. Turn the ignition on. Get this to focus here. Tell me there's no oil change required. We're gonna blast that. And so what we're gonna do now, oh, my hood's open. Okay, well, that's fine. What we're gonna do now is press the accelerator and the brake pedal at the same time. We're gonna keep them fully pressed. After 3 seconds, okay, there it is. So it's saying service oil, reset in progress. So now this is a 25-second wait. I think they kind of went overkill on this, but after 25 seconds here, it'll say that the oil change has been completed. So let's hang out here for a second. Oh, there it is. That was pretty quick. Oil reset complete. So that's it. So thank you guys for watching. That was just a Ford Transit 3.5 EcoBoost oil change. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the ride, and we'll see you on the trail.